Welcome back to Spacey Talk channel. Content today. Russian Soyuz rocket launches 73 satellites into orbit. Washington. A Soyuz rocket successfully launched 73 satellites, including spacecraft for 4 companies' cubesat constellations, July 14. The Soyuz 2.1 lifted off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome at 2:36 a.m. Eastern. The rocket deployed the primary payload, the Kanopus-V-IK remote sensing satellite, about an hour after launch, followed by 72 smallsat secondary payloads over the next 7 hours. We had a great launch and all the satellites separated as planned, Vsevolod Kryukovskiy, launch program director at Glavkosmos, said in an interview after the launch. Everything is good. Among the secondary payloads were 48 Dove satellites from Planet, completing the company's initial constellation of remote sensing cubesats. Mike Safyan, director of launch at Planet, said in a July 14 statement that all the satellites had separated from the rocket's Fregat upper stage as planned, starting the process of positioning the satellites in their desired slots in sun-synchronous orbit. In total, the commissioning and orbital spacing will take a handful of months, but the Doves will begin imaging much sooner than that, he said. The secondary payloads included 8 Lemur satellites for Spire, a company deploying a constellation for collecting GPS radio occultation and ship tracking data. The rocket also carried the first 3 Cicero GPS radio occultation satellites for geo-optics and the first 2 Corvus BC medium-resolution imaging CubeSats for Astro-Digital. Other small sats flying as secondary payloads included satellites from several nations, some built by Russian universities or for the Russian State Space Corporation Roscosmos. The Spaceflight Laboratory at the University of Toronto built 2 NORSat small sats for the Norwegian Space Centre that carry ship tracking, communications and space science payloads. The launch was the largest number of satellites flown on a single Russian rocket, and the second most on any single launch after the February launch of an Indian Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle carrying 104 satellites. The launch was particularly complex in that it involved several maneuvers by the Fregat upper stage to deploy the satellites in 3 orbits. Kanopus-V-IK was released into an orbit at about 515 kilometers. The non-Dove small sats were then released into a 600-kilometer orbit, followed by the Doves at 485 kilometers. After releasing all the satellites, the Fregat performed a deorbit maneuver. Glavkosmos, which arranged the launch of the secondary payloads, is now working on a second such launch, scheduled for late this year from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Russia's Far East. That launch, Kryukovskiy said, will carry about 40 small sats, but he said confidentiality agreements prevented him from disclosing the names of the customers at this time. Kryukovskiy said this launch was a milestone for the company and the small-sat industry, which has often struggled to find rides for the growing number of spacecraft under development. Today is a big day for the small-sat community, he said, recounting the speech he gave to his customers after the launch was declared a success. Someone may say that you are secondary payloads, but for us you are primary customers. Thank you and see you on next video. Like and subscribe for more movie in Spacey Talk channel.